my video got cut, but like if you're walking around with resentments and anger towards somebody and not speaking about it, but then it comes out when they're asking, I don't know, for compassion, or like you're pissed off because you're not dealing with something in your own life, and then somebody calls you out on it, you're not helping yourself, you're not helping your relationships, you're not building better connections with people. And I say this to myself as I say it to you all, because I used to be a big time people pleaser. If I talk, anything I talk about, it's because I've lived it. I might have acted that way. It might be part of my shadow, and I'm acknowledging it and working to better that part, these parts of myself as well. So I'm not, if it's not judgment, it's asking people to be better, to be accountable to their own bullshit. This is how we protect innocence. This is how we protect beauty. This is how we allow life-giving energy to thrive. You know, Mel Robbins bullshit. Flush that crap down the toilet. If you haven't tried having a conversation with somebody and you're scared of confronting them, you owe it to yourself to try. You owe it to that relationship to try. And like, yeah, they might stump in your face and be like, fuck you, I don't want to hear that. Well, that's information for you. We need to heal our abandonment wounds. We need to heal our fear of being liked or disliked. I have a fear of being disliked. I would love for people to for everybody to like me. That is my shadow. That is my rejection and abandonment wound. But the more I speak up about these things, and the more I express things from a grounded place, and if people shit on me or close off for me, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it sucks. And at first, I couldn't do this. Like, my boundaries were very reactive. Were not very grounded whatsoever. You know, I was coming from my wounded place because I really was attached to that person and how they viewed me. And like, that lessens over time, but you have to put in the effort first. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations. But like I said in my last video once before this, is like, what is the point of being alive if we're not having uncomfortable conversations with each other? Like, how many friendship groups are genuine if you cannot talk about the deepest, darkest, you know, hardest parts about being alive? If you cannot talk about the things that you struggle with at night before bed when you're, you know, anxious about whatever the hell. It takes looking at our own individual lives if we're gonna turn this ship around. And I'm sure most people know what I mean by turn the ship around. I mean the ship of humanity that's going down in a fucking heartbeat. I really wanted to talk about preventing childhood emotional neglect, because that's what a lot of this all comes down to. We've all been neglected in our own ways. You know, a lot of parents do their best, and a lot of parents don't. A lot of parents, I mean, I guess they're still doing their best. A lot of us are still healing from parents who had the cry out method, where like the baby literally gives up on being held, on being soothed, on being supported, because fucking doctors told parents to just do the cry out method. That's probably like my parents' generation. I think a lot of boomer parents probably had done that, you know, Dr. Spock. And so I realize when people talk about these things from a fiery place, it probably sounds like they don't have compassion, but they do. They just care. And sometimes that care comes out quite fiery, but sometimes, like, that's what it takes. Like, you have to have these conversations. But, like, you know, as an example with, like, the Dr. Spock, and, like, Gabor Mate talks a lot about this, the cry-out method. He, as a baby, his mother was pregnant for him, and he learned as a baby to basically give up, because she was pregnant for him in the Holocaust, and she abandoned him. She had to, for him to be saved. I forget the full story, but he essentially learned to just give up entirely. Give up entirely on being rescued and being supported. So if a baby learns that, what do you think happens when that baby becomes an adult and somebody challenges them? You know, the reason I'm giving the background on this is not to shit on people who don't understand when we're telling them that we need compassion and empathy. Like, there's a history there. There's a reason people cannot hold us. People struggle with holding, and they withhold love and affection because that was done to them. That's not making excuses for them. This is just coming out of this trying to be the opposite of Mel Robbins, where it's like, okay, like, there's a middle ground where we do need to express ourselves and have these challenging conversations. I don't think it's just shutting people out and just, you know, avoiding them at all costs. We have to express what we need. But in that expression of what we need, there'll be information given where it's like, okay, that person just can't meet us. And we can't beg somebody. We can lead a horse to water. We can't make it drink. And, like, I guess I'm just, in these videos, I want people to start to look at themselves. Like, for your own life, for your children's life, for your friendships. You know, like, I read this article a while ago, in the last month, and there's a woman, I think she was a psychotherapist, she was working with children, or sorry, with women who, gosh, this is hitting a spot for me. She was working with women who had babies, and so she realized that so many of these women, it's called hungry ghost, like there is ghosts, it's ghosts in the nursery. So when mom has not grieved her own emotions, when mom has not grieved her own feelings, when mom has no awareness of her own grief, there'll be times she will not even hear her baby cry, was the emphasis of this article, where, like, this woman started doing trials with the woman where she would, like, slowly bring the woman to her own grief, like, show her what she, like, kind of inquire as to what happened in her childhood, you know, what was mom like, what was dad like, what kind of feelings were you allowed to feel, what feelings were you not, and, like, bringing the experience of mom's unmet needs as a child to her awareness so that mom can grieve them. And so she started to slowly see that as mom developed empathy for her own experience, as mom grieved her own experience, as mom attuned to her own grief, she was better able to attune to her baby. And that's what we're seeing in the I'm not saying this to, like, haunt people, but just to question, like, when we attune to ourselves, we're better able to attune to others. We're better able to hold space for ourselves, hold space for other people's emotions, feelings, you know, and that makes us better humans. That prevents childhood emotional neglect. It prevents sexual abuse energy. It prevents, I'll say it, child trafficking. Do you think if all these Super Bowl events, if they stopped, if people were not distracted, do you think as many kids would be kidnapped? If people weren't distracted by their cell phones, if people were having these kinds of conversations, it just, I'm really passionate about this because, yeah, I've lived it. You know, I look back at my history and, like, I'm sure I swear there's angels watching, because I was put in some situations where I'm really grateful that my trauma is less than it could have been. So I'm a walking example. Like, I'm speaking for the kids. And, you know, I see people post about how, like, you're not allowed to, like, feel angry at the pedophiles if you're not calling it out in your life. And that's why I'm speaking, because there's times I have also been an enabler because I didn't have the courage. So as I'm talking about this, I'm not judging people. If you haven't spoken up, if you're scared, I get it. I'm right there with you. This is not comfortable. I really don't like crying on screen because, like, some people, I don't know, it just feels a little bit, it's pretty vulnerable. But, like, I'm right there with you if you haven't spoken up before. You know, you're scared to lose your job. You're scared your relationship's going to fall apart. I'm right there with you. When you've lost so much as it is, or you've already lost that genuine love and protection as a child, but we have to give that to ourselves so we can give it to the children. I speak about this because of my own experience as a child, because I'm an adult now, and like those children need a voice. So yeah, I just really want to push home that, like, if you have not spoken up and you've been an enabler, I'm not judging you. I understand, but we need to get uncomfortable. We need to allow ourselves to get a little bit more uncomfortable and have some confronting conversations. And not from a fiery, like, yelling at people place, because that's not the answer. And I speak about that because I've done that, and it doesn't help. But we do need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I'll leave that there.